Hello! Welcome to Why Not Both? My name is Pam Schaefer, and I'm a musician and therapist in Los Angeles. Why Not Both is all about how our multiple passions inform our identity, and this season we are brought to you by Under the Radar magazine and produced by Laura Studeris. If you like what you hear, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform, and come spend time with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, and that is both on Instagram and on Twitter. To celebrate the release of their new album, we invited Phantogram to join us on this episode of Why Not Both. We got to chat all about what inspires them and their creative process. I hope that you enjoy our interview. Thank you so much for joining me on Why Not Both. We're here today with Phantogram.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hello.
Hello. So the first question that I usually ask is, what do you do? But I follow that up with, is there a better question to ask than what do you do? Because like everyone asks, what do you do?
Well, like a lot of people, when they ask what do you do, they're implying what one does for a living often, I guess. But we're lucky enough to do what we love for a living. So I can say I do music. And if I didn't do it for a living, I would still probably tell you I do music.
Awesome. I think that a lot of it does tie into like commerce in that way of like, what do you do to make money? But I like that you answered that, like, even though you do get to make music for money, like that would still be what you would answer. And I was like, that's rad.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer.
What do you do, Sarah?
I would say the same. I do music.
Awesome.
When we started, we would both wait tables until like midnight or 1 a.m. or something like that, and just go straight from work over to my parents' house where they have a barn, and that was like a half hour away from where we worked, and we would just go straight there and just work on music until like 5 a.m.
That's awesome. I love that you had a music barn.
Yeah, we tend to barns are kind of our studio of choice when it comes down to it.
I'm curious, as a native Angelino, I don't encounter that many barns, and so what makes them awesome studios?
Well, I think mostly by circumstance for us to begin with. It was like we're originally from upstate New York, and the town that we're from population is like less than 2,000. It's more like a sleepy farm town. There's more cows than people. In high school, it was like you were a cool kid if you drove a tractor and stuff like that. So basically, finding a barn to make music in was easier than finding like anywhere else. Really.
they were just handing out barns.
Basically,
they were. You know? They weren't. There are a lot of barns. There's a lot of farms, hence a lot of barns. And I think, I don't know, I guess the trend was if you have a barn, you can do anything in it. So we made a studio into one of the barns, and then our friend who lived on a property nearby, beautiful part of the country, really. It's like picturesque, but they had a barn that they kind of converted into just like a music space studio thing where people would kind of keep their instruments there, and they would use the space. And then the third barn we found was an actual converted barn into a studio called Edie Road Studios on another picturesque little back road in the middle of nowhere. And that was where it was like it was obviously like a studio, it was a legit studio, but it was actually where Kanye West recorded Jesus Walks.
What?
Oh yeah.
And there was a picture of him. There was a picture with him in the studio with the Harlem Boys Choir, which was where
Wow.
they would come up. They would come upstate in the summers, and perform at like SPAC or like maybe the college there. But
Mm-hmm.
he was there for maybe
Yeah, I
like
forgot about that.
a weekend or something. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that barn
Yeah.
must have had like some amazing energy.
Oh, it was great. It was cool. We did a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
writing in that barn. I
Yeah.
forgot, like, even Mark Linkus, Sparkle Horse recorded some music there.
Oh. Well, yeah.
And the guy who owns the studio is like good friends with Dave Fridman, who, he produced like Sparkle Horse and the Flaming Lips and
Mm-hmm.
MGMT's first album, all that. Uh, so yeah, it was a lot more legit, but we use it for like writing purposes. But now our main studio, which is Sarah's, at her spot, is a legit studio, but it still kind of has that barn energy for like any place in
Yeah.
LA.
Right.
It's in like it feels secluded. It's up in I'm up in Laurel Canyon, so it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like LA.
Right.
It has that vibe.
I feel like Laurel and Topanga are the two canyons where you feel like you're actually in a completely different place.
Yeah. I love it.
And I love that you maintained kind of the original feeling of that, because I can imagine, like, after you're at work, after you've been on your feet, going to a place where it sounds like it was actually very comforting to be, and kind of almost recreating that now, because I was like, yeah, I would want to hold on to that vibe. Like,
Yeah.
No,
It's
absolutely.
it's kind of like our I don't know, secret part of the recipe of Phantogram is having that comfort of being able to go into a space, your think tank, I guess, and work whenever you want to at any hour of the night, and there's no distraction, there's no bustling, street that every time you look out the window it feels like you're trapped up in the hill or in the woods or something, and you the only thing you want to do and you can do is write.
Right. Well, it sounds like by kind of blocking out the distractions and having somewhere where it's comfortable to do that. Because I could imagine if you blocked out the distractions, but your inspiration had been like, like a nuclear fallout shelter, it might be totally different.
Yeah.
I was like, you might sound different if you're like inspired by AstroTurf. That's cool though. What was the transition like going from doing that to then doing music full time? Because I think that sometimes people have misconceptions about even what it means to be like a full time musician.
I guess I guess the transition of going from working a day job to getting to do it for a living, I think at that point when we realized that we were doing it for a living, like it wasn't like we didn't wake up one day and just be like, somebody told us like, hey, you are now doing this for a living and you do not have it was just like we'd wait tables and then it'd be like, hey, can I get the next 2 weeks off? I got to go on a little tour. And then we do that and then come back and wait tables. And then eventually we're like, oh, I don't have to go back to work. And it kind of like, I think we eased into it, because we weren't this like discovered band that like all of a sudden like blew up by the internet or anything like that. We just kind of grew very organically. So it felt to me very natural. And I think maybe at one point on tour, we even do this now when we have a couple buses and a whole crew and a semi truck and all that. But like, we look at each other and be like, hey, isn't this awesome? We get to do this for a living, like
we
just
do it
stop
like
for a
every
minute.
day.
Yeah.
No, I like
No, we
literally
do.
like not even on tour, Josh. We
Right.
we said it the other day. Remember?
Yeah, you were like, remember when we started a band together? I was like, yeah,
We were like,
yeah,
yeah, but it's like the most simple things. What were we? Oh, I guess because our album was out. Oh, we were playing Kimmel, and we were
oh
like
yeah,
in the green room with Tim Robbins, and like hanging out next. Like just such bizarre, like just a bizarre thing. Our lives are, but we're always aware of it. Always aware of it. We're always like feel so lucky. But we worked our asses off to get here. But
Right.
it's really nice to share it with somebody that you love. I would kind of hate it to have to go through it alone, like a solo
yeah,
artist. I would never. I wonder what that would be like. Like not being able to relate to another person. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I would be fine, but
Well, because it is, I mean, like you said, it was kind of a slow and steady transformation. And it's not like you just woke up one day and were like, well, now this is what's happening.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
And it's like that can happen though, where some people, end up growing together. But for some people, and I have spoken to solo artists where it's like it has been in some ways destructive of some of their relationships because they do change so much. But in other ways, it's fostered growth with other relationships. So it's kind of this weird, like double-edged sword because it is kind of all of a sudden your narrative's totally different. And even though it's slowly transformed, after a few years, you're like, whoa, my life looks completely different than it did.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, it is. It's funny how often it can affect people's relationships and stuff like that. But I guess the way I see it, or the way it's sort of worked out in our lives, and I'll just speak for the two of us. Stop me if I'm saying something that you disagree with, Sarah. But like, as I've lived my life, relationships kind of come and go, and I still remain good friends with people that I grew up with and my family and all that. And so I think we're lucky enough that life has just kind of taken its natural course instead of like something weird happening and us becoming like egomaniacs or like too good to talk to old friends, etc. I don't know. I think we try to stay pretty connected with people.
That sounds pretty solid.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think especially I was talking to another artist in regards to touring that some people don't realize how rigorous it is and how it can be very disorienting.
Oh, it's really, really hard. It's kind of crazy how used to it we are, and how we miss it when we're not on tour. But if you don't if you don't know, if you think it's glamorous or if you don't know what it really is like, it's kind of a big. I think I would think it's a big shock. It's something different. You really have to love what you're doing. You really have to love music to do it. to do it the right way. I mean, I'm sure people like blow up overnight and they don't, they get to go on a bus from day one, but
Right.
we didn't do it that way.
I was gonna say, like, I think of all the acts that I've talked to and then acts that I've read about, and it's so rare that people just like skip straight ahead to the bus place. And I think that that's what people see is they're like, oh, yeah, you have all this like support. Like, why would it be hard? But even with the support, it can be very difficult as well.
Oh, totally. When you try to like tell somebody, certain people like, oh yeah, I'm exhausted. Like I'm feeling pretty burnt out, and they're like, oh boo hoo, Mr. Rockstar. Like you just get to travel around the world.
Oh, you get to live your dream. Oh, you must be so tired.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't breathe. I don't even know who I'm talking to. I don't know where I am.
Yeah. I don't know what day it is. Like,
Exactly. You're like, I feel like I've been on perpetual spin cycle.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But
You
I
know,
love it.
you get-
We really love it, you know, like when we get home from tours, we don't really know what to do with ourselves. And since we're all such good friends, like even our backing players, you know, we'll like text on the group thread, be like, "Hey, I miss you guys. What are you doing?"
Oh.
Like a few days later, just because we don't know like what to do with ourselves for a, you know, a little while
without each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like after
You wake
summer
up, you're
camp.
like, wait. Yeah, it's like we have like it's like a big sleepover every night on the bus kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's fun.
Oh. Yeah, and I was curious about like when you said like, oh, boohoo, you get to live your dream, like how people have this narrative that we only do have like one dream and that's like the one thing that we're supposed to do and that like we're not even allowed to complain about it if we do it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, aren't dreams supposed to be difficult? Well, no, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe someone living their dream, they live on a beach somewhere and they just sleep on the beach and that's their dream. But maybe that can be hard too sometimes. I don't know.
You might need sunblock.
I think people you got to really work to keep the dream alive though. That sounds really cheesy coming out of my mouth, but you do, and I think that's what makes living the dream kind of difficult. Is you have to you gotta like keep the dream alive.
Yeah, you got to put it in action.
You got to keep right. You can't just. It's not right. That's pretty good,
And,
Joe.
you know,
I like that.
You'll read about that with anybody in a sense, like you know, but that's part of like being an artist and creating and stuff like that. That's also a passion and what we love to do. I mean, like I'm sure Kanye West can do whatever the heck he wants to do with the amount of money he has and the fame that he has, but he wants to continue to make music, as far as I know, and that's kind of like him keeping his dream alive. You know, like so therefore, I think an artist should be allowed to air their grievances once in a while, just not too much.
Right. You can have a little complaining as a treat.
Yeah. It's like ice cream.
Exactly. And I was curious, like, what inspires the two of you to keep that alive, like outside of music? Like, where do you find kind of like where do your other passions lie?
Well,
Josh and I were, we've always had this issue whenever anyone would ask us in interviews, like, what else do you like to do other than music? And we truly would always respond like, what do you mean? Like, there's something else
There's
to do
else supposed to be doing
other than Phantogram or working, you know, trying to just, I don't know, make your dreams come true, kind of musically. And we've always had a hard time answering that question. So this was once again kind of hard to just take music completely out of our in the peripheral. Like I like to laugh.
Yes.
that was
That's
one
awesome.
thing, Josh. I was thinking, was like, well, I guess I like to laugh, but that sounds so stupid.
Well, I mean,
like laughing.
I think a common bond though that you and I share, Sarah, is that, I mean, that's what drove us together to begin with. I think as friends is our sense of humor and similar sense of humor. And if we didn't have that, I don't think we'd last. Well, I don't think we'd get on nearly as well as we do. You know?
Yeah, I wonder what. Yeah.
I can't imagine working with someone that intensely on anything that you couldn't crack a joke Like I would just be sitting there after a while being like, ugh, no.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It'd be so boring. Yeah.
I was like, I think that laughter is a valid hobby.
Sometimes we get sidetracked because we goof off so much we don't get enough done.
Yeah, we do.
That's really funny.
I mean, I like I think I like to document. I like photography. I like documenting our tours and our, I guess, just lives in general. So that's the one thing that I could come up with. That and my dogs. That sounds
that super counts.
I can't
was
tell.
Like, you can't see my face because we're remote, but I'm like, when you said dog, I was like, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, well, I have a dog. Well, I have a couple, but I have one. His name's Leroy the Good Boy, which, by the way, Josh, he's sitting next to the phone like he knows you're on the other line.
Oh, really?
He's listening to you, and he's like getting all jacked up. He loves Josh. Loves Josh. But yeah, Leroy's my freaking dog. He's like, and he has like an Instagram, and I dress him up, and like I collect little things, like tiny things. I've always loved tiny things, so it gives me an excuse to buy small things like a tiny Rubik's Cube and like a little backpack that has miniature colored pencils and a drawing sketch pad that Leroy size. I don't like just stupid things.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Which I realize I've been collecting, and I actually used to collect little things when I was a kid. It was one of the things that I loved to do. I don't know if you knew that about me, Josh, but I loved collecting tiny things.
Oh, I knew that.
Okay, just checking. So I guess, I don't know, little tiny things are something I like to do.
Also, totally.
Besides music.
I love that. One of my friends also loves things that are tiny that are supposed to be big, and things that are big that are supposed to be tiny.
That's
yeah. Yeah.
Like Alice in Wonderland. I had a friend growing up whose parents had a house that they collected a lot of things, and every room had a different theme. So one room was all full of checkerboards, but it was the living room, and the kitchen they just had a million spatulas. It was crazy. It was
what?
Like every room was just like Alice in Wonderland.
I was just like, was this directed by David Lynch? Like, what happened?
I mean, it may as well have been, because he, we used to indulge in a little marijuana back then, and walking in there could be a little bizarre at times at night. Very Lynchian for sure.
I was gonna say, I was like, I completely sober would be weirded out walking into a room entirely filled with spatulas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was gonna, like, what happens if you get in trouble? Like, is somebody gonna, like, they have so many different things to choose from to spank you with, you know?
I was thinking, what if you were cooking Hanukkah dinner for like 70 guests? You could flip every single latke at the same time.
Oh wow. Ooh.
Yeah, my brain went to that place.
Went straight to the potato latkes, huh?
I was like, but we thought of the Jewish snack foods. Oh, it's funny that you're saying that it's hard to think of things outside of music that you're interested in. And I was talking to another musician that he was so excited that he started running. And so he finally has he was so stoked that he had a hobby, because he never had a hobby because he's a musician. And so everything he did.
Yeah.
And so he told me excitedly, he's just like, is this a hobby? And I was like, yeah.
cool.
Yeah, running counts. You're running up hills. That totally counts as a hobby.
Yeah, totally. One hobby. Oh, you know what, Josh? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a part of Phantogram, but I've been really getting into printing out photos, just like random pictures on whatever, and cutting them up and making like art with them in a scrapbook.
Ooh.
So that's kind of something.
Yeah, I mean, we got really into making collages when we were working on this newest album. In the studio, we just cut stuff out and make collages.
Kind of like another way to be visual,
right.
Visual artists in a way.
How did that end up then, like, influencing the songs when you were in the process of making those collages?
I think it may have been like sort of like a subconscious mood board in a way.
Yeah.
And it sort of, I think the ideas as we were working on them, the sonic ideas or the musical ideas would influence what we would cut out and make in the collages. And then I think when we looked at what we were making, that would start influencing the music more and kind of feed back and forth off each other. Like, in a way, I think it helped us write some songs, you know?
Yeah, like it was a different way of being visual with our music, because we're very visual when we write, and we pictures, like, we make up these little scenarios or daydreams or dreams in our heads and kind of write around that. And this way we were able to just like print out any idea and cut it up, or not cut it up and just put it down, and it kind of grew from there. Also, it was really helpful for like our music video ideas, and just visual ideas for other stuff. Like for the album art, that was kind of how the album art came about.
That makes sense.
We're printing out pictures and like cutting things up, and then Josh found this really cool image from an artist that was it was like a puzzle. It looked like a puzzle, and that's kind of how we wanted our album cover to be. But also like optical illusion-y, which is, it kind of freaks your eyes out.
Right. It kind of reminds
with
me
normal,
of
like it was like a
Yeah, it reminded me, when I looked at it, it kind of reminded me of looking through like a zoetrope, where it like looks like it's animated, but it's not. It's just like the multiple frames, because you're looking through like a tiny little like kind of like slit in the metal as it's rotating. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. And that's really interesting to know that those visuals then inform the music, because that sounds like almost like a cyclical kind of relationship, where when you have these visuals, they're going to suggest different stories and different kind of like imagistic language that then is going to inform how it sounds, which then is in turn going to inform then, oh, what do I want to cut out next? What do I want to print next? I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
What did you do with all the collages?
We have a big book here with stones and stuff, and it's like leather, and it has this weird wizard book that we found.
Oh my god!
Purposefully, like we wanted a big ass book that you could lock it and open it, and all the pages are like thick and magical. I don't know. It's like it's like our wizard book. So we also documented. Yeah, we documented the whole recording process with Polaroids of the friends and artists and collaborators that we had over, and took photographs of us in the desert when we were a Joshua Tree. And we put those in there as well with the other images. So it's like just this big book of kind of how the album was thought as, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. I want to look at it. I'm at my house right now.
I actually just added stuff to it the other night. Strangely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
cool.
like the lyrics, because we have all the lyrics printed out like a zillion times when they've changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I've put the lyrics. I've been kind of like putting the lyrics and making pages with leftover images and photos that we had with the lyrics and like just notes and just random like pages ripped out of like your scribble or just weird stuff. It's only like a quarter of the way full though. It's not even close to finish, but we can use it again for the next album.
And that's so cool. It's like having a spell book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like a wizard book. It's like it's huge. It's like the never-ending story or something. Looking kind of like.
Yeah, it is.
I wish it had that emblem on it, but it has like these cool stones on it.
Mm-hmm.
Crystals, I think you're supposed to say.
Crystals.
Right?
Sure.
There's like 7 crystals, and they all have a specific meaning. Pardon my ignorance. I don't know much about that type of stuff, but our co-producer Boots kind of turned us on to his world while writing, and he is a fan of all that kind of stuff, crystals and things. So we went to this store and we got crystals, and I guess they charge up in the sun or something. I forget. I wish I not that I say I don't believe in that stuff at all. I totally do. But it was really cool to just, I don't know, just think differently in that way.
Well, it sounds like it worked.
Yeah, it worked in it. Yeah, definitely did.
I think that's the funny thing about magic is that you're like, I don't know how this works. I don't know what these crystals mean, but I have this amazing record now. Like,
yeah.
I was like, something clearly worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, which is funny because I think a lot of what kind of, we were doing was like cut up, even lyrically, like kind of like William S. Burroughs type sort of putting words together in a certain way and imagery together in a certain way, which all kind of goes back to the idea of magic in general, because that's what a lot of, cut up is said to be, apparently, is like kind of casting a spell in a way.
Yeah. I was going to say
all tying together now.
Yeah, well, totally. I mean, that is that in general, the cut up stuff, highly influenced with Gaunt Kids. Also, Mr. Impossible, thinking about the that sample, and we made it Sun, Moon, and Stars. I'm the sun, moon, and the stars, like which is part of whatever that is, a chorus or whatever the hell that is. But it feels, it's kind of, I can see crystals when I listen to those songs.
and imagining all of the samples that you use, that makes, like, I can totally see how you would then kind of be
Matt chopped up
samples.
Very choppy.
Yeah, and it's choppy, but it works. Like, you're kind of making collages with it anyway. So I was like, oh, that makes, like, I can totally see how you'd be making collages visually.
Yeah, also puzzle-esque, like a puzzle too, like the way that I watched Josh produce, like make a beat, specifically making a beat with a sample and maybe like anything, but like the rhythm of it is very unique in a way that like it's very visual and it's chopped up and it has very particular placement involved when he does it, because it's not to the what's it called, the
like it's not to a click,
snap to grid. It's not like a grid, like like a beat, like it doesn't snap to a grid where you can see it's all even. It's not that at all, and that can loop too, which is really cool. But it's loose on purpose, and it's real. It's right. Realistic, and that's why his beats are so unique and fresh, because that doesn't happen you don't hear that very often, because you can't feel that when you listen to, I don't know, like a DJ name, insert DJ name here, you know what I mean, like
right. Well, it's organic.
It's so unique, but it is like it is cut up, chopped, like that is the way that you would describe it anyhow. When you do, Josh, chop it up.
Well, I'm just rippity doing, just chopping it up.
Sure are.
Well, it reminds me even of like, if you are choosing images for a collage, like you aren't going to choose something that's necessarily, it would be really boring if you just put each thing into like a little square and we're like, oh, here's a row of pictures. Like that's not
right.
So I was like, that makes sense if that's what you're doing with your music. Like that would inform that visual, and then it would loop back again. And it's also interesting, for whatever reason, when you were talking about that, it kind of made me think of like heartbeats, because though they are regular, they're not to a grid either. So it's going to feel different if you're feeling something that isn't to a grid, not to a click.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about even like where you recorded those. I was just like, you choose to record in a barn.
Right. Yeah. Where it's definitely not. I mean, I guess the slang is to call it your laboratory, but it's far from a clinical experience when the way we create.
Right. And I was curious, like, I'm wondering about like the narrative that people have that in order to create music like this, like you do need to be in a laboratory. Like when you said that, that's what it sparked in my head of like, that people think that there's like a formula or there's a certain thing that you do, and then all of a sudden it's like, ta-da, you're a musician.
Well, I'm sitting in my studio right now. I have a home studio that I built in my garage, and there are definitely, I like to be set up a certain way. I'm very particular about things. Mm-hmm. I might have a little bit of OCD, but yeah, I guess every you could call like the setup I have kind of like a lab, a weird lab, but
well, it's bright. You have like awful fluorescent lights.
They help me focus. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's why I think that's why people have fluorescent lights. I mean, schools, classrooms, it's bright.
I mean, I like vibey lights, but like sometimes if it's too dark, I just can't focus,
Yeah.
I'm always, when I'm at the studio in Laurel Canyon, I'm always telling Sarah to turn the lights up more. But she doesn't like that.
Is this like the classic dilemma? Like, turn the thermostat up, turn the thermostat down.
Yes.
Oh, that too, yeah.
So sweating. Sweating and can't see.
That's so funny. You're just like, we'll just make a collage. Just a shot in the dark. It's fine. And it's interesting because, I mean, the thesis of the podcast is like, why not both? And it sounds like, though, obviously music is your focus, there are so many other things that do feed into it. because in some ways I think that like if we didn't lead life outside of music, it's like how would you write music?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often wonder. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're talking about like the action of doing other things, but there are times when people ask, like, oh, if you recorded this album in Hawaii, like, do you think, or like, do you think living on the West Coast has affected the way you write music? And I basically respond to like, I don't think it really matters where we would be. Like, I think we'd make the same kind of stuff that just comes out of us anyway, but it makes me second guess the answer I've been giving people for all these years.
What do you think made it change?
I think just like talking about this and like the fact that like you're even just your surroundings and like the fact that we surrounded ourselves with you know images and different things and different vibes kind of just affected it differently, you know, and going out to Joshua Tree as well. And,
yeah.
But you know, like I don't think if we went to like a tropical island, I don't think we'd all of a sudden make, you know, who's the guy that does
Cheeseburger in Paradise?
Yeah, like I forget his name, Margaritaville guy. Yeah, I don't think that would all of a sudden happen to us, you know, but who knows?
All of a sudden you're gonna be down in Kokomo. It's gonna be fine.
I heard that the Beach Boys didn't even surf.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I know.
I hope that's not true.
Sarah, what do you think of that? Like about how like environment and experience kind of is shaping what you write?
I don't know. It's not as though like if I'm in New York City, I'm not inspired to write. I mean, and also if I'm in a cabin in the woods alone, I'm not necessarily inspired to write an album, you know, to Bon Iver it kind of thing. But because a lot of the a few songs on this album and definitely on other albums, I started and worked in New York City in my room, in my apartment. But so that's the thing. I feel like it's more about the inspiration of the beat for me. If I have a beat, if Josh gives me a beat, because I don't know how to make epic beats. Tried a few times, but not even close.
That's why you have bandmates.
If I have a beat that I am like, that I'm just like, yes, I know I need to like work on this. I that light switch is turned on, and it doesn't matter where the heck I am.
Well, it sounds like you kind of feed off of each other in a way.
I really, other than obviously my emotions and what you know comes from my emotions onto paper, but Josh's beats are so important for me to write. It usually always starts with a beat that he has in a random folder that I've been given or found or whatever the circumstance is. But
that's fascinating. So most of your songs then do start, it sounds like then, Josh, you're inspired by where you are and what you're doing, and then you make these beats, and then you give them to Sarah, and then Sarah, you're like, oh, now I'm feeling it. That's so cool. It's almost like kind of like the collage and then the chopped up sounds.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends. Like because I like to keep sound journals. Like I like to journal. Well, I like to write anyway, but like on pen to paper. But I keep these things called sound journals. So like every day, I just try to like, what's today's date? Label it and just record whatever I'm thinking. And I have like several folders of just different ideas, and some of them are beats. And Sarah will go through something that I did in like 2006 and be like, "Oh, this is cool. How come you never played it for me?" And then I'll just be like, "I don't know," and then we start kind of working on it. But yeah.
But thank God that you made that. Thank God that you made that little, like, perfect, incredible example is a tiny loop of just a really cool. It was like 3-5 seconds of this awesome beat that you made with this really cool just really cool sample.
What is it?
And it sparked. You Don't Get Me High Anymore. It sparked.
Oh, right.
It sparked an entire that one little snippet. And remember, because it was an MP3. I don't even know where that file is. Like, but we had that folder of some MP3s from an old computer, probably your first, maybe not first, but one computer. And I had to loop it, like I had to copy and paste, so it was even long enough to like put down the bass line, and then everything else just came from that. And
Wow.
there are so many songs that come from those type of situations. Like I could, if I had all of our songs right here, I could like name them all that are like that.
That's amazing.
It's really cool. It's yeah.
And that's amazing that, like, Josh, that you document those, and then Sarah, that you're so inspired by those, because that's, I think that's something, when you said, like, you have to work at your dream. It's not like you're slaving away in a salt mine, but you are like putting down your ideas every day. And some of those ideas, you're like, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but might as well record it. And then, like, you toss those over to Sarah, and Sarah's like, filter. Oh, that one's really good. I'm really inspired now.
Yeah. It's good for me too, because like there are a lot of things that I might just be like, okay, this is trash, whatever, but it's there. I don't actually crumple it up and throw it into the trash can. I mean, I actually have done that, like digitally, just completely like erase songs. But, I just like to document things. And then Sarah, it's like having a journal that you let somebody read, Dear Diary, blah, blah, blah. But instead of like, touch this and I will kill you, it's like, Sarah, just go through it. And tell me what you think,
Well, and that's why a lot, each song obviously is different, and it's been started and it's been finished, or, more written recently or a long time ago. That's kind of the way I think it will always be for us, because of the sound journals. Like, there's
wow. Well, and also it shows that the two of you really trust not just the songs, but each other. Like when you said it's not the kind of journal that you have under lock and key. It's the kind of journal that you're like, here you go. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's just because Sarah's proven it to me, like, well, not like I was being all Judge Judy with her or anything, but like she's earned my trust from like being best friends over the years, that like, we have a couple gold records, and one of them is a song called Fall in Love that, had Sarah not found that idea of mine, it wouldn't have been anything. I wanted like Jay-Z to rap over this beat I made. So like, it's pretty cool. Sometimes you need encouragement from people as well. Like I think everybody's sort of that way. it just feels nice. And even if you think something's good, it feels nice to have somebody reassure you.
Right.
Because when you're an artist, you can drive yourself crazy and just think that like something is complete shit.
Yeah.
Because you just overwork it. You overthink. So.
Or you've forgotten about it.
Yeah. Well, that too. I mean, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, in closing, like, what advice would you give to younger artists? Because I think it's important that artists do hear that, like, all of us at some point are kind of lost in our own creations. And then you're like, is this good? Is this bad? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I've learned over the past 10 years of being a professional musician is patience. And especially if somebody wants to be an artist, like professionally, the practice of patience is very key. And I had to learn that myself, you know? I mean, I've always been a relatively patient person, but when you're so hungry for success, or to make some kind of impact, and things don't happen like overnight, you shouldn't let that frustrate you. Just keep on doing your thing and believe in yourself. But just practice patience.
Practice patience. I like that.
Yeah.
Sarah, what would you advise?
Make sure that you're doing this for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons, because it won't last. It won't be real, and it just won't be right. And you won't, it will never, you won't be able to keep that alive. Like, keep the dream alive when we're talking about, like.
Well, I like that. Patience and actual passion for the art itself, because you're going to have to brave some really, really weird bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the three
I
P's:
don't even.
patience, passion, and peanut butter.
Secretly, what every musician runs on. Yeah, no one tells you about the peanut butter, which, I mean, thankfully I'm a fan of peanut butter as well. But like, yeah, seriously,
better love PB&J's.
Really like it. Well, thank you both for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Why Not Both. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also come hang out with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, both on Instagram and Twitter. This season, we are brought to you by Under the Radar. Under the Radar is a nationally distributed print, music, and entertainment magazine and website. You can find them at www.undertheradarmag.com, and feel free to support them on Patreon. Extra special thanks to our producer, Laura Studeris, who has been absolutely amazing. Thank you again, and I look forward to next week's episode.